Cadillac's persistence paid off. Cadillac's transformation through its people, systems, processes, and products earned Cadillac the 1990 Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, the most prestigious quality award in the United States. How did Cadillac transform its culture and make such a dramatic turnaround? The story is one of intrigue because Cadillac uncharacteristically went about its transformation without much fanfare. In fact, auto industry studies, including the respected J.D. Power and Associates survey, as well as several automotive industry publications, painted a bleak picture for Cadillac from 1981 to 1985. While Cadillac dealers were rated above average by their customers, Cadillac's products problems abounded. Their fit and finish work was lackluster, quality problems surfaced, and their product design was criticized by loyal Cadillac customers. When the 1990 Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award announcement came, it was a pleasant shock, surprising to many General Motors employees. But there was no mistake. As Baldrige insiders told me, it is virtually impossible to win this award without earning it. There are too many checks and balances along the way. All the things Cadillac did to restore their quality reputation, they did in such a way that caught the attention of car buyers around the world, as well as a number of quality award examiners. They made a very convincing argument for their continuous improvement processes and commitment to quality and service. Ironically, that's exactly what Cadillac did in a very unconventional way. Quietly, Cadillac set out in 1987 to reorganize itself into a single business unit. They added engineering and manufacturing to its marketing responsibilities. This reorganization accomplished several strategic objectives. First, it moved manufacturing and engineering closer to the customer. Secondly, it gave the people of Cadillac cradle-to-grave ownership of their success of their products, and it reinforced in Cadillac employees their commitment to build the world's finest automobile. Today, Cadillac continues to make improvements and uphold its quality reputation. Is the company perfect? No. In fact, Cadillac's management will tell you they still have a long way to go. Each year, the quality bar is raised higher and higher because their customers expect it and demand more. For example, at the dealership level, Cadillac is working to train its sales staff and customer service employees to be more customer-oriented and friendly. The old way of selling cars by pressuring the prospective car buyer and applying hard sell tactics is no longer acceptable. This requires training salespersons to think like the customer and be less aggressive. America's great humorist Will Rogers once quipped, "Even if you are on the right track, you'll still get run over if you're standing still." I hope my remarks today will help your company keep moving in the right direction so that your competition doesn't run past you, even if you are on the right track. One only needs to compare the profitability of the Fortune 500 some 5 years ago to that group today to understand and appreciate how the cost of poor quality, mediocre service, and a lack of empowerment can stifle a business and a nation. The ultimate judge as to whether or not your quality processes are succeeding or failing is your customer. And this is why it's important to care about quality and help your company make that transition from being operations-driven to customer-focused. Customers are the lifeblood of every business and government agency. Without customers, your organization has no meaningful reason to exist. In 1951, Dr. Peter Drucker, one of the great management professors of our time, wrote in his first book entitled The Practice of Management, the primary goal of every business is the acquisition and maintenance of our customers. I believe some 43 years later that Dr. Drucker's message is more valid than ever before. Despite the newspaper headlines and the media coverage, I believe our world still operates on a few basic truths and values. Although you and I come from different cultures and live under different laws and governments, we're very much alike. We all want to be happy. We all want the best for our children and ourselves. We yearn to make a difference and leave a legacy that will cause society to remember us for the good we contributed. I think this is why striving for quality is so important. It is a reflection of ourselves and our self-worth. In closing, I hope my 5 steps for creating customer-focused quality and the 3 R's we just discussed, the 3 rules that we just discussed, will inspire you to rethink the importance of your human talent and encourage you to focus on the human side of quality. I wish you every success as you continue on your quest to champion quality in your company, and I look forward to hearing about your successes at future meetings like this one. Thank you.
We now start our last question and answer demonstrative session. We'd like to remind you to please pose your questions in a brief way in order to have more access. We still had a question with one of our computers, people in Paraguay. Wouldn't a standardization of policies and procedures create a dependency of the developing countries?
I think the standardization of policy and procedures is going to be greatly impacted depending on where your work environment, where you're located. Obviously, the Disney company has proven that in a negative way, unfortunately. Very successful in the United States, very successful in Japan, but when they opened Euro Disney in France, they, I think, violated so many of the traditions and procedures that were that were practiced by the French people, and it did not sit well with the French people. So yes, I think you have to look at the standards, the policies and procedures in a country and adapt. As the old expression goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Just to comment on that same subject, as Deming and others have pointed out, variability is the enemy of quality. Really, when we try to document processes and so forth, we're trying to come up with the best way to do a particular task or process to eliminate human variability, which ultimately affects our customers. We see right now ISO 9000, standards for world trade. We're requesting that all companies who are involved in world trade actually have documented procedures. But when the designers of these processes, or the ISO, set it up, they did not want to affect countrywide autonomy. So really the enforcement of these really become part of each country's culture.
Question comes from Catepec, the state of Mexico. Is somebody from the Superior Technological Institute? With regards to a human aspect, how can you interpret and manage the different syndicates?
By syndicates, I assume that people are talking about
unions.
Unions. First of all, if we've learned anything in the United States with respect to the relationship between management and unions or syndicates, we have learned that it is a partnership. One of the great success stories in the 80s and 90s has been the willingness of unions and auto manufacturer management to work together as a team to achieve total quality. Without that partnership, it would not be possible. So unions have a very significant role to play, but they also need to understand that they're a partner in the process and not the enemy.
And really, that is supported in the state of California. Every time we implement on a company site the TQM process, the advice always is that we want a union representative on the steering committee. He has to really, like everybody else, be brought up to date with what we're trying to do, and we need his contributions as far as work rules and so forth are concerned.
Thank you. From Tepeca, we got a call from the administration school. Go ahead. ¿Cómo? No le oímos. ¿Me puede decir otra vez la?
¿Cuáles serían algunas de las principales estrategias?
What would it be the basic strategy? What would be the strategy to follow when you have a country with too many unions?
That's a difficult question.
That's a difficult question. But really what we're talking about here is company by company implementation of TQM. And really, why make a complex problem when we can break it down into components? How many unions are you interfacing in the company where you as a leader are trying to implement the TQM? It really becomes quite manageable.
The other aspect of that question, or the other dimension to that question, is this. Don't the unions want the same results that management wants? That is, more work for the employees, higher wages, and steady work jobs. The unions want the same things that management wants. It's a matter of bringing them together, talking, working out their differences. And I know that sounds simplistic, but frankly, it's a simple process. You have to sit down and talk to each other.
The next question comes from Guadalajara, the University of Guadalajara. Good afternoon. I'd like to ask you, what would you ask the high-level executives in the university in order to implement TQM when you have all types of clients and there are conflicting interests coming from all types of clients?
This program today comes from San Diego State University, which is probably a very good example of your question. In the United States, we have the same structure in our universities that I'm sure you have in your country. We have an administration, we have a faculty, we have a student population. All of these different interest groups have specific wants and needs. I'm going to refer to George's previous answer because I think he said it so well when he suggested you have to define the vision of the organization, what it is we stand for, and then look at those issues that you can bring people together on so that you can begin to achieve the beginning steps of quality. Don't overcomplicate the process. Everybody wants to be part of a successful organization.
You know, there's two factors involved here. One of them is internal to the university itself, and the other is for the student body themselves. Really, these days, nobody should graduate from a college that doesn't have some kind of training in TQM concepts. And number two, there should be internal overtures and efforts made by the heads of universities to install a program where they bring together the various colleges of a university, and by consensus and thinking, they decide how they're going to implement the TQM process at their spot.
We have another question from Guadalajara. This is a Federal Electric Commission. Go ahead.
Tal vez su valor sea porque propicia un ambiente laboral más agradable.
Is it a more favorable working environment when you inspect, even though there are some errors in to statistics?
Take a look at the various countries in the world. Take a look at Germany. Germany inspected. Inspecting just adds cost. It does not provide in prevention. Even from a business standpoint, when we are going through our business processes and we have to have 6 people sign a purchase order, in a way that's an inspection too. Really what we're trying to get away from is change the concept completely, that the operator is responsible for the quality of the work, that we don't need to develop an adversarial relationship with a third party to look over their shoulders and inspect something. It's fundamental to the total quality program that we develop that concept and get rid of inspection.
From Ecuador, we have a question from the bank. How would you implement total quality and re-engineering, and how would you prevent the impact, the social impact on the employees?
Maybe I could talk about that one a little bit. When we talk about productivity improvements, we're talking about getting more for less. Yes, it does have there could be an impact as far as employees are concerned. Many companies have answers to this, but in different ways. For example, in some companies, they guarantee that nobody will lose their job as long due to a TQM process. That really the strategy that we're trying to unfold is we want more work, not less work. By being more competitive, then we can hire more employees, even though we're getting more for less. So many companies have developed a strategy, but you have to be upfront with people, and really during the training program, you deal with these